25 years ago, I made a series of films about wine that saw me travel the world, building up into a history, which then became a book. Today, I thought I'd revisit it and cut it up into bite-sized chunks for you to view exclusively online. I hope you enjoyed viewing them as much as I enjoyed making them. Wine can't be, and certainly shouldn't be, separated from the elements that go to make it what it is. The earth, the air, the weather. It's a topic that engages people passionately, and nowhere more than in Burgundy.
It's not very impressive, is it? This really could be a field of vines anywhere in France. And yet this tiny plot, I don't mean the whole hill, but just the 5 acres in this corner here, is valued at the same sort of rate as a building site in the middle of Paris. Why? Because it makes the world's most expensive red wine. Its name is Conti, and princes have been proud to own it down the centuries. But why this one and not this one? All I've done is just to cross a little lane, and this is a vineyard with a different name, whose wines taste quite different, and are valued at only a fraction of the price. How can we make sense of this? Can such differences really represent reality? Nowhere else in the world are there such huge variations in price. But this is Burgundy.
Burgundy is one of the very few places that makes equally fantastic wines, either red or white. So what decides whether a vineyard does grow red grapes or white grapes? It's quite a complicated equation.
It makes it easier to understand the small but vital differences between wines if you consider the life of a vine as an individual. It's really strange to think that all the wine you ever drank was once sap sucked from the ground and coming up through a gnarled old stick like this. It's just flowering time now in June, and you can already see the form of the future bunches of grapes in these bunches of flowers. There are about half a dozen of them on every plant. Between now and when they're picked in about 4 months' time, when of course they'll all be golden and juicy and sweet, just think of all the days and nights and the rain and the sun and the wind, all the different conditions that will envelop this particular vine. Just over there's a wall. Now, if it casts a shadow early in the morning, its day will effectively start late, it'll ripen later. The sum of all these tiny differences is the character of a vintage and a wine. And the owner of a vineyard like this will know it so intimately that he can tell you how many bunches each vine has and how ripe they are.
Underlying all these differences of style and of quality, of course, is geology, the basic soil science. So I asked the professor of geology from the University of Dijon, Noël Leneuf, to give me a steer.
Out
in the vineyards, Professor Leneuf gave me a graphic explanation of how it works on the hill of Cote. Starting at the bottom, on the flat land, the vineyards are of modest quality, partly because they drain less well. Between the road and the wall is mainly hard limestone, with an iron content you can actually see as red in the soil. Top-quality red wines grow here. Above that is Cote Charlemagne, where we examined the ditch, paler to look at, grey, limey clay, and world-famous for its superlative white wine. So it really is a layer cake, even to the icing at the top.
Centuries of experience and experiment have led the Burgundians to refine their choice of their red grape to just one variety, the Pinot Noir. It was the medieval rulers of Burgundy, its dukes, with their court famous for chivalry, who made the great decision to allow only one grape. Red Burgundy was already the favourite wine of the royal court in Paris, which made it a useful diplomatic instrument. In the 14th century, Philip the Bold encouraged all his subjects to plant the Pinot Noir, which clearly made the region's best wine. The Duke was enraged when from this village where I'm standing there emerged a new kind of grape, which grew far more abundantly than the wonderful Pinot Noir. Its name was the Gamay. One plant of Gamay gave 3 times as much wine as one of Pinot Noir. The crop came earlier, with less trouble, and not surprisingly, everybody started to grow it. But its wine, in the Duke's words, was foul, even harmful to human beings.
He published a decree to banish it from his realms. Disloyal, he called it. In actual fact, it was a perfectly good grape, just growing in the wrong place. Banishment took it to the south, where a completely different soil transformed it into the fruity purple liquid that the whole world knows today, Beaujolais. And Gamay has no Gamay anymore.